So lecture 1 of unit 1 of our program is Introduction to Economics, and we'll start this lecture by first of all defining what economics is, because the study of every discipline starts with the process of actually defining the discipline and understanding what that discipline is all about. So many economists have their own definition for the economics because they view economics with their own perspective. And in fact, we ourselves are going to arrive at our own working definition, right? At our own definition, what economics, what the study of economics is all about. But first, we should, but first, we'll go through an established definition by acclaimed economist Joseph Stiglitz. Now, Professor Stiglitz is a Nobel laureate and economist at Columbia University. Now, what he says is economics is a discipline that studies how individuals, firms, governments, and other organizations within our society make choices and how these choices determine a society's use of its resources. Now, you see, humans have needs, and these needs have no limits. Right? Humans want more, more, and more. But the problem with that is our resources are limited, and these limited resources cannot fulfill our infinite needs. So what so what so it's up to us as to how we are going, so it's up to us to make a choice, right? And to decide as to which needs we want to be fulfilled by these limited resources. So what we are doing is we are prioritizing one need over the other that can be fulfilled. Now economics is precisely that discipline which studies how we make these prioritized choices in the process of using these limited resources to gratify our needs and wants. Now you see, as the times change, the choices also change, and that makes economics a very dynamic discipline. So this is an essence of economics when we talk about. So what is an essence of economics? It talks about scarcity. It talks about making a choice. It's talk about getting the best out of the limited resources. But if you have to understand, when a person studies economics, what does he actually study? If that's what we want to know, that's what we should know. So that's why we'll create our own working definition. So the one that I would go for is economics is a discipline that studies economic activities of mankind. Very simple. So you see, the working definition is completely layman. It should be able to be understood by everyone. So I'll use this discipline, right? So what do economists study? Economists study the economic activities of mankind. Pretty simple. But what activities can be defined as economic activities? So I'll say this. An, an activity that involves profit and loss, livelihood, occupation, wage, and employment, etc., can be defined as economic activities. Now we will dwell upon these at a detailed manner in the upcoming lectures, but but I guess you will have a certain idea of what profit and loss and livelihood, etc., so means. Now you see, it's pretty simple when I make that definition. Economics studies economic activities, just like how politics studies political science, and how sociology studies social choices. So that is one of the reasons why economics is broadly categorized under humanities, right? So this is a very layman definition, and obviously this is for our own understanding, right? But today's economics is extremely diverse and extremely complex. It studies highly diverse subject matters right at the global macro and micro levels. So you can't take this as a proper definition. This is just a working definition. So for example, today economists study why do people go for fuel efficient car while few others go for sports cars that guzzle a lot of fuel, and why poor people are poor, uh, why there's a lot of inequality, because is it because of capitalism, is it because of something else, and how will we be able to bridge this poor rich divide, is there any other way? These are the questions, very highly complex questions that economists today study. So what we are defining is basically a very layman approach that we are taking towards the economics, but this will give you a certain picture. So economists study any activity that's related to profit loss, livelihood, occupation, wage, and employment. I think that's pretty clear. So now that we know what the study of economics is all about, then what is economy? Now these are very common terms, economics and economy. Everybody hears them in the newspaper every day. So how would we define economics and the economy? What is the difference between them? You see, economics the difference between economics and economy is application of that economics. So economics is theory, whereas economy is the practical, right? So it's the most simple way of explaining that. For example, when economics produce lots of theories on markets, employment, etc., how a market's supposed to function, what will generate an employment, when those theories are applied, right, are applied in a particular region. Now in today's world, those regions are called nations. When those theories are applied in particular nations, and the result of application, and the result that comes out after application of those theories is called economy. So that's why there's nothing called economy, but economy has to be preceded by a country's name: Indian economy, American economy, British economy, Europe economy, so on and so forth. Now there is a simple example what I said. You see, classic the one if you see over here on the left side, there's written classical economics, which I will explain later what it is. And the right side, Indian economy. So classical economics defines about market, government intervention, how market adjusts supply demand. When these theories are applied in a country like India, this is the result that you get. So that is economics and this is economy. Now you see, countries when we and also when we say developed economies and developing economies, it means economies of developing countries and developed countries, right? So we are pretty clear. So we are now pretty clear about what economics is and what uh, economy is and what's the difference between them, right? Now you see, countries of the world, right, they face many common economic challenges. For example, poverty, poor sanitation, income inequality, etc., etc. At the same time, they face some highly specific challenges. You see, there's one frame that is like most of the countries face common economic challenges. At the same time, they also face highly specific economic challenges. If you take India, right, there's a lot of inequality in India, just like anywhere around in like anywhere else around the world. But you see, the thing with India is it is home to the largest poor people in the world. The poor are much poorer than sub-Saharan Africa, right? So that is a very specific problem to India. Now economists, right, during the time of evolution of these economics, right, economics as subject is nothing but a collective of economic theories. So during the evolution of economics, economists have suggested number of theories, method of solving, and which are nothing but methods of solving those economic challenges. Right? So, it depends upon the countries as to what theories they may choose, what methods they may choose to bring about solutions to their problems. Now you see, many countries that choose similar methods may experience different results, and many countries that choose different methods may experience similar results. And there's a reason for that. Now you see, if we have to go back to our definition of economics when we talk about economic studies, the choices made by how our society and we make choices, right? So economics essentially is an expectation of human behavior, how human beings are gonna make choices about their economic activities, right? And these behaviors and these decision making choices will greatly depend on many internal and external factors, our culture. You see, for example, an American thinks about a problem in a different way and an Indian thinks in a different way, right? Because we have our own different culture, we have our own different thinking. And at the same time, there are external factors also. So for example, Saudi and Middle East states have lots of oil, and India is an oil deficit country. We need an energy deficit country. So you see, you can't have similar solutions that are applicable in Saudi and that are applicable in India, because we have different natural resources. And at the same time, it also depends on the quality and quantity of human resources as well, right? So it involves everything: society, politics, political, culture, or natural resources, human resources. So that makes it an extremely challenging thing, right? And these things, the factors that I mentioned earlier, the socio-political and also culture, these collectively together impact our country while carrying out economic activities. Now, this makes it highly difficult for economists to focus the kind of impact a particular policy. For example, a person who has studied in US, who knows what is right for America and what has worked there, so he'll try to bring the same policies over here. But because he doesn't understand the country, right? He doesn't understand how Indians think, how a society thinks, what's our culture, what's our uh, what's our natural resources or anything as such, right? So he can't apply the same policies over here. There may be varied of results. So that is a challenge for economists around the world, right? So it is absolutely correct to say economics has less diversity because it's just a collection of theory of how to uh, run an economy, the theory of economics. But whereas economies are highly diverse, like the countries are highly diverse. So this diversity makes, but you see, although they are diverse, they can be classified broadly, right? Just like how we classified developed and developing economies, we can classify them into industrial, agrarian. So we'll talk more about that in the future lectures. But you see, this diversity makes economics a highly interesting discipline, right? So then if if there are different methods, so we don't know whether this method will work for the country or not, then how to go about it? So how to apply what? So that is where that's where economics as a dynamic discipline comes in, because what actually happens is throughout the history, right? Throughout the history of economics, if you see the evolutionary history of economics is nothing but modification of the past theories. So what they do is they take a past successful theory, they apply it, and they see the results. If if the results do not match up, they modify that theory. Right? Once they modify it and the results start showing up, they'll use the same theory again somewhere else. And if some other modification is required, they'll do that. So that makes economics an extremely dynamic field, and that's how the economics has developed out of real life practices to theory, again from theory into practice. Now in the next video we'll talk about focus of economics and challenge of economies.